$100 resin versus about a $22-25 die cast. In this video, I've got an awesome comparison that we can do between these two brands. This is gonna be ignition model versus INNO64. This can be a two-part video, resin versus die cast, INNO64 versus ignition model. Let's see how these two brands stack up starting right now. What's going on, collectors? James with Model Cars Houston. If you're looking for collector grade model cars, check out www.modelcarshouston.com. This is going to be ignition versus INNO64, $100 resin versus about a $22-25 die cast. Let me remove them out of their slip box real quick, and then here we've got it out. Let's start with the INNO64 case and art. Looking really nice. Love the background, love the box art, but we can slide this bad boy out and then remove the acrylic case, and there you have it. This is going to be their third variant of the R34. Now let's take a look at the ignition. The ignition model resins are going to come in this brownish colored slip box. No artwork, very simple, going for more of a professional, sophisticated approach. So the ignition model is going to come in this scratch resistant acrylic case. It's going to have the gold plaque to signify that it is a resin model. And then the base is actually different. They used to come with a leather base, but they've since then changed it out to these acrylic base with 4 screws. Really nice presentation. It looks really cool this way, but let's pop this open too. And there you have it, guys. You had to remove the 2 pieces of tape. One is here and one is here in the back, obviously from preventing it from falling out. Now, before we begin, both of these are going to be the Tokyo Auto Salon R-Tune Edition Nissan Skylines. The R-Tunes are going to be your tuned up versions of the regular Skyline. They're done at the Omori factory with Nismo, and you're gonna get such upgrades for performance, braking, aerodynamics, etc. So looking at the front, you'll see the R-Tune front bumper. It's got the lip here, but something I noticed right away, the lip is a lot more evident on the INNO64 version, whereas on the ignition model, it actually doesn't have a lip, it looks like. It's got something there for a lip, but it doesn't look as aggressive as this lip here where it sticks out. As far as the hood goes, you can see that both of them are rocking the carbon fiber. Carbon fiber weave is a little bit thicker on the ignition. The INNO64 is a little bit finer. Graphics on both look like they're spread across the hood here. You can see a little bit of blue here. No blue on this one. The ignition model has the black housing headlights. The INNO64 rocking more of the clear headlights. I'm sure that the real one in real life does have black housing headlights. Both have the front mount intercooler with the Nismo badging, as you can see there. It's got the GTR emblem inside the grille. The INNO64 only rocking the paint on the turn signal here and here, whereas on the ignition resin, you're gonna get little details for the turn signals with plastic inserts. However, they are a lot more sunken in there, whereas this one is just right on the outside of the bumper for the Inno. Definitely some noticeable differences there. Something I noticed when I pulled it right out of the box is the paint scheme. You can see that the INNO64 version is a lot lighter. The ignition is a bit darker, and you can see that on the ignition, it looks like it's more of a water slide decal that's placed on top, whereas this one, it looks like the decal is put over it, and then maybe the clear is put over on top of that, because I don't see the outline detail for the water slide decal. Moving to the side, you can see that we have both decals set up on both cars. Some of the decals that were done on the ignition model look like they were definitely done by hand, because you can see that it's almost about to hit or overlap the door line there, right here. Whereas on the ignition model, it's pretty spaced away. It's got some good spacing between where the door meets the fender, and it looks pretty straight, but decals are evident on both. I feel like ignition could have done a little bit better job on their decals there. And then a big difference here, guys, as you can see. You see these sponsorship decals right along the door? On the ignition model, it's on the door, and on the INNO64, it's actually on the side skirt. On the back, you've got the Nismo sticker on the rear quarter panel. You've got the white sticker in here on the back and the rear spat. And then on the front, you've got the red and white looking good on both. And for wheels, let's talk about wheels. We have the 5-spoke Nismo LMGTs. Both have the decal on that spoke, both have the brake and caliper details. The ignition model wheel does look a little bit bigger as opposed to the INNO64, but both also have rubber tires as well. And moving on to the back, both are rocking the carbon fiber add-on right there on the spoiler. Both rocking the tail lights with inserts. It's got the decals here, third brake light. You can see on the ignition, the third brake light there is actual insert, whereas here it's just a sticker slash paint. Both have the Nismo license plate. Both have the reverse and reflector here on both sides, so good. As far as the exhaust goes, both rocking aftermarket exhaust. And then the diffuser, you can actually see more of a diffuser here on the ignition model, whereas on the INNO64, no diffuser evident or present at all. So that's kind of funny because Inno puts a nice front diffuser, Ignition does not, but when it comes to the rear, Ignition does the diffuser, but Inno does not. So pretty crazy how these two guys do this stuff sometimes. And then the other side is gonna be the same thing, except the gas cap. And then on the interior of the vehicle, both actually look pretty much the same. Both got bucket seats, all black, but the one detail that I do see on the Inno is the carbon fiber on the airbag there, whereas on the Ignition, it actually doesn't have anything, it's just black. Considering that Ignition is trying to market a resin model with higher quality detail, I would have hoped that they would have included all that stuff in there. And then some other random details, both rocking the defrost on the rear window, both have the speaker, both have the rear seats, everything inside is there. Now let's remove it off its base and see if they roll.
A few moments later.
All right, so we've got them both off their base, and you know, for the metal, INNO64 definitely a lot heavier than Ignition model's resin, but let's take a look at the bottom and see what details we have. More details definitely on the INNO64. You can see some of the exhaust silver here, whereas you don't see any of that stuff here colored. However, you do see more 3D details as far as the undercarriage goes. You can see the piping, the transmission. You can also see the exhaust here, which is good. So they both got exhaust there. And as you can see, both can be removed with just Phillips screwdrivers. So if you wanted to do wheel swaps or something like that, then it can definitely be done. Let's see INNO64 roll tests. Resins, guys, I think we already know what the outcome is gonna be. No roll. And then for INNO64 roll tests, let's see. No roll, one rear wheel roll it looks like. But the INNO64 definitely a lot more free moving as opposed to the Ignition model resin. The Ignition model resin, the wheels aren't gonna move at all, barely anything, if any. But resin models, more for static display. The die-cast metal, you can certainly do modifications to make them roll, but also used for static display as well. So try to get your hands on one. I'll put a link down in the description below, so don't miss out. I feel like as we move across the collector grade model car world, die-cast and resin cars are becoming a lot more harder to distinguish between the two. But question of the day for you, what did you guys think about these two model cars? Which one would you go with based on their price, their detail, and how they lay it all out in terms of presentation? Let me know down in the comments below and let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, but I also have other videos just like this in the next slide. I will see you in those videos or my next video.